Hello, everyone. Jose J. Garcia with Garcia Mohom University. I'm sorry. So my guest for today, she very special guest. She's out of Ontario, Canada. She is a health coach, fitness instructor, consultant, business owner, real estate investor, renovation expert, serial entrepreneur. Carol, how are you doing?
I'm good. That's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's a
Pick them
mouthful. I
off.
had to keep going.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot more by the end of this year. So
I
you
hope
are
so. Yes. I'm happy to be
definitely.
here, Jose. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, Kara. So, I know you obviously through our same networking, coaching sort of thing. But for those that don't know you, tell us about you.
Yeah. So my name is Cara Whiteway, and I joined the JT Fox Network. I was back in February 2020 when we finally said yes. And ever since then, my whole life changed. I joined with my husband. We own multiple businesses together. His name is Stephen Whiteway. So we own GTA Property Partners as well as fastrenovations.ca. And we are based again out of Ontario, Canada, close to Toronto area. And we have been flipping homes for years, but we just recently, started doing deals with our new network with the JT Fox, Polly, and Francie, and everybody else in the Do Deals network. So it's been absolutely life changing. I also am a health coach as well. So I'm a serial entrepreneur in the best way because I can kind of transition my focus into specific areas if I get bored of one thing. And that's why I have so many businesses. It's not that I'm getting bored. I just like to always constantly challenge myself. And the health coaching really just allows me to give back to people as much as I possibly can and help transform their life. And then the house flipping is just, of course, to build some wealth in the meantime.
There you go. You are the fifth person I know in Canada. It's the whole network, and we hear about it. Obviously, your network is your net worth, and it's how many people you know. I get a chance to interview a lot of successful people like yourself from all over, and it's just like it's interesting. It's neat how that works. But you mentioning all these business and board. Like I said, by the end of 2021, I'm sure you'll probably have even that many more businesses going. So
That's the
that's
plan.
awesome. But how do you keep up with so many businesses going?
It takes a lot of time management. I think that's the biggest thing. And that's one of the things I really needed some coaching on when I first, met JT and family. And it was also the direction. For me, I have to have a plan every day and I have to be busy. I get bored super quick. I'm not the type of person that loves to sit at a computer. Unfortunately, now with everything that's going on in this world, a lot of our work is done in front of a computer. So I'm just trying to diversify my life. I stay motivated and organized by delegating what I don't have to do, and then just making sure that all the things that should be a priority are absolutely at the top of my list. Another thing I really, kind of honed in on, especially in this year, was doing the stuff that I didn't want to do first off of my to do list. That's again something from JT Fox, but the hardest things I don't really want to necessarily focus on for the day are the things I always make sure that I get to at the beginning. I wake up super early every day and I go to bed pretty late if I'm not falling asleep on the couch at the end of the night. But yeah, I love to stay organized. I think that's the biggest thing. And also holding myself accountable to get this certain amount of work I need to do every single day completed.
Absolutely, and you need to, you have to.
Absolutely.
You're always so energetic. Every time I see you, you are going. So it takes that. And you mentioned delegating. That is a field that I still struggle a little bit in. Not so much, something that's letting go, trusting somebody else to be able to do what you need to do, sort of thing. But how do you balance your personal life and business with so much?
And it's hard because I also work with my husband, right? So it's hard to kind of separate the two at certain times, but I'm very lucky and blessed to know that we do work very well together. The good thing about real estate, if we're talking about that specifically, is that I focus on the marketing, I focus on the ordering, I focus on the design concept, I focus on the coordination of the job site. Whereas my husband, he would be the more hands on guy. He's able to instruct the people that are on the actual job site of what to do if I'm not there or whatever the case is. And then communication is absolutely the biggest key in anything that we're doing, whether we're talking about business or personal lives. Steve and I do a really good job at that. And then on the personal side of things, it's also again time management. If we don't schedule, that personal time, which is super important again when you do own a business, so you're not completely immersed in always talking business numbers, what we have to do next, projects, etc. So we try to structure at least one day a week where we kind of separate ourselves from our business, even if it is for a few hours, where we're just kind of, getting a cup of coffee. We used to go out for something to eat. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's not the case right now. We're on lockdown. But it's all about the scheduling, because if we don't do that, it's never going to get done.
That's interesting. That's, where do you cut that off? It's not a light switch. You can just, okay, business time and no, I could see that.
It's true.
When you talk to most people, they say doing business with your significant other doesn't work. Would you disagree?
I would disagree. I think that you have to find the right partner when you're doing any type of business together. And it was a natural transition for Steve and I to start our renovation business, which was actually 7.5 years ago that we started that. I left my six-figure job to become an entrepreneur at that point. And it was a lot of risk, but I felt that I always wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to work for anybody else's dreams or paycheck for that matter. And I wanted every single amount of effort that I was putting into any type of job, if you will, to be a reflection of my work and reflection of what I was getting paid. And my business sense paired with Steve's expertise in the renovation industry and flipping homes, etc., it was an immediate mesh. So we were able to kind of create something very, very quickly, where I was focused more on the selling of Steve as a product, which is not hard to sell,
Mm.
your husband at the end of the day. And then we just started, really focusing on relationship building. That's what really separates Steve and I as well. We have fun when we go into someone's house to sell a renovation or a roofing job. In addition to that, it's the same thing with when we're building relationships with agents, or even when I'm building relationships with my training clients. It's just all about making sure we've got that relationship at the number one aspect of everything that we're doing when we start to build a business together. We work very well together, and I don't think I could actually own a business with anybody else in this particular industry, because I trust what his opinion is, and it's vice versa for him. We needed to kind of delegate who would have what positions or what jobs inside of our business, and it worked very well for us right from the beginning. So I would disagree with that, depending on the partner. Yes.
Yes, and no, based on what I've seen y'all doing, accomplishing, I mean, obviously it is working. So good for you on that. Now you said something pretty big there, and that was leaving your six-figure job. You know, when you get started, it's scary enough. And when you're coming from nothing, that's one thing. You're kind of up against the wall and you can only go forward. But you had to make a decision of leaving this salary, which I agree with everything you said. Why
Absolutely.
build somebody else's dream instead of yours? But at the same time, you had what we believe is safety in a sense. That's safe, which is
100%.
not, but that's huge. And for those of you tuning in, you have to make decisions. You have to take action. So thank you for that,
Yeah.
Kara. So we were talking before the video here, and I was fitness because that's something that you do. You're pretty big into it as well, and succeeding awesome at it, like every other thing you're doing.
Thank you.
But I have a background of fitness. Once upon a time, in my early years, I say I was a nutritionist, fitness instructor, personal trainer, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the more I do, I still do it now. It's more bodybuilding kind of to myself. Um, the more I did it, the more I realized, which this can be in any field, but how negativity people are.
For
They're
sure.
just mind drained. They just, and it's all about, we hear where you have to surround yourself around those like-minded. This was not my area. Clearly,
Okay.
the more I
Yeah.
did, why do you think so many people are so negative and just refuse to get out of that?
I'm going to relate this back to the six-figure problem. I was in a very stressed out state when I was working at a health club. My six-figure job was in a health club. And as you know, they always were promoting a healthy way of life, a healthy way of life. But everybody that worked there was massively stressed out, overworked, constantly, pivoting with corporate America, etc. So it came to a point where every single time I left my job, I was upset or I was stressed out. I started to become ill. I was in and out of the doctors. I was 25
Oh,
pounds
wow.
heavier. It was like a downward spiral. And that's when I really realized that stress is for sure the worst thing on the planet. It can affect every single thing that you're going through in your life. And that's kind of transitioning now to the training that I do. I always talk to my clients and my, everybody around me, if for that matter, about what a positive mindset can do for your life. because we are in such a, a weird state right now where we don't know what's going to happen. We're on lockdown again here in Canada, so, or at least in
I heard.
Ontario, so we are constantly like, what's next, what's next, what's next, but we're never focused on what's important to you now, and why should you be happy, why should you wake up every single morning being focusing on gratitude. For women specifically, and I'm just going to, it's very hard for women to kind of develop that self-confidence early on when I start training them, because they're just so prone to looking in the mirror and focusing only on those things that they don't love. But I'm focused on coaching them and letting them know that they're the only person that's holding themselves back from becoming a better version. Whether it has skinny, it has nothing to do with it. If your mindset isn't correct, no changes will ever happen on the exterior. And I always compare it to people who smoke. When you stop smoking, all of your changes are going to happen internally before they start to happen externally, like clearing up your teeth and your skin and whatever else, right? Same thing with weight loss, same thing with positive mindset. Change your mindset, get that positivity on your side, focus on the things that you do love inside of your life, and then focus on the accountability part, and everything else will fall into place. Negativity is something I don't want in my life. And I know stress controls a ton of, other people's, day-to-day actions. And it really just has to boil down to a choice. You can choose to deal with the stress, overcome the stress, cut the stress out, much like you did. If those clients are causing me stress or negativity, I give them a choice. You can either change or you can move on to another trainer. I just don't have the time in my life at this point to, necessarily be brought down by other people. I'm all about, focused on the future and creating a life that I really want to live.
Very good. I should have thought of that approach. I did not. That's
It's all
good.
good.
So I'm curious, when you coach people, do you coach them more like an entrepreneur, or you're much like a coach yelling and I'm
Yeah, I
curious.
don't really yell that much unless I'm really passionate about something. When I do yell, it's normally because I'm kind of frustrated with their own accountability and excuses. I hate
Mm,
excuses.
oh,
Big thing is I always notice, like, I run a 3-month live program every quarter, if you will. And
mhm,
everyone comes into that program guns a blazing. They're posting their pictures and they're all happy and they're excited. And then by the time like month 2 rolls around, it's like less than 50%.
mhm,
And it's just, I coach people depending on the person. I've done some coaching where, I had someone actually planning on becoming a real estate agent. So I coached her on how to, develop her business, talk about the marketing and the sales, and obviously to get a good experience under her belt, and to hire, of course, a coach that knows what they're talking about. Whereas if there's somebody that's just wanting to lose weight, I start at the basics, which of course is definitely mindset. And then I kind of work downwards from there, because everyone is different. But the main thing that everyone struggles with 100% is the accountability factor. They just want to pass the buck and pass the blame to someone else every single time. So I'm always trying to coach them on holding themselves accountable, because I can't do the workout for them. I can't cook their food for them. And they
sure.
have to be the one that makes the decision to want to be a better person.
Most people have that New Year's resolution mentality. Yes, they
Yeah.
they lose steam, and you said a month. I typically see people within 2 weeks. They're well, kind of, you didn't even give it enough time, but it's always that drive. So good.
For
Okay.
sure. And it's like less than 10%. I think that people that actually can like continue to move on towards their New Year's resolution after 1 month. It's like crazy. It's a choice, right? So I just feel, it's got to be motivating for them to continue to course as well. And I really try my best to keep them motivated.
That's why the successful is a small crowd.
Yes, 100%, less than 2%. For
Absolutely.
sure.
So you invest in real estate. You had a deal this morning on one of the platforms we sharing. You were sharing that. You're also a renovation expert. Talk to us about some of this real estate investments you do.
Yeah, so I'm doing single family home flips, and nothing really, with extensions or building at this point, just because our investors are looking for short term. That is something we're capable of in the long term, but I'm focused right now on getting a good deal, which is very challenging in this market. But I'm also really focused on building those relationships. I've had a few different phone calls, with Jonathan and with Peter, And of course, Polly, which has been my coach since, a couple months back or 6 months back, I think, and JT, they're always talking about creating relationships that are going to continue to help you flourish in your future. I was asked a question this morning of why I don't just go to a bank and ask them for, the full amount and then just take all the profit myself. And my answer to that was, I am all about relationships,
I heard that. Very
right?
nice.
Like I'm about loyalty. I'm about making sure that I am giving back as much as I possibly can. But I also know that at some point, yes, of course, I am a coaching client, but at some point they had to put their trust in myself and Steve. So in order for me to continue with that relationship and plant those seeds and continue to build it and build it and build it, I'd rather bring it to the group than go to a bank where they don't know me from
Sure.
whomever else is going to walk into their front doors. So, the real estate business is a numbers game. It's very emotional. I'm not trying to get attached to any deals. I think it's just super important to keep going because we're going to hear no's all the time. But it's just important to move past that because it's going to get you closer to your yes.
Beautifully put. Absolutely. Where do you see the market within the next couple of years, you think, with your knowledge in real estate?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I live in an area that's still going to be in high demand. Like, just the prices are absolutely sickening for, like 1,000 square foot house here is like $1 million, and then it needs like probably anywhere between 100 to $200,000 in renovations,
Wow.
and they're selling for over ask and multiple bidding wars. This is. I live specifically in Oakville, which is a really hot market. It's never really, experienced any downturn. Toronto, of course, I think that it's going to suffer a little bit, but I do feel like it's going to come back in the next 3 years when, coronavirus is kind of under an umbrella, if you will, or a little bit more under control. I think people will start to move back to the downtown core. So I feel like it'll come back. Right now, I don't anticipate this market, changing anytime soon. I would say probably 6 months, even to 12 months. This whole year being as crazy as it is with this seller's market because interest rates are low, people have money, and they're wanting to put it into something that they know is a sound investment. But I just hope that, and in addition to that, Jose, like we are having tons of immigration coming into Canada and there's no inventory. Tons. Like I think it's like 1.2 million people we're planning on accepting again in the next like year and a half to 2 years,
Wow. Okay.
and there's no inventory. So I feel like it's always going to be kind of in that higher demand point here in Ontario anyways. So yeah, I think the condo market is suffering right now, but I think it'll come back because there's just simply nowhere else for these people us to go. Like we need a place to
Yeah.
live at the end of the day. You need a roof over your head. So
Right. So we know, I'm sitting here thinking, and network is all about networking. You mentioned in building relationships. And one of the beautiful thing about doing these podcasts is I'm meeting so many people. I
yeah,
feel like when I start traveling, I'm going to know somebody everywhere I go.
yeah, for
So
sure.
that is huge. Um,
Although it's freezing here, so I don't know.
no, 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 not anytime
I
soon.
come visit. Yeah,
I heard about New York. I can only imagine it's worse up there. So
it's
not
freezing cold.
anytime.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super cold.
So, I invest in mobile homes, manufactured housing.
Thank
You see me present some of these deals on the founders call. But what is your knowledge? Have you ever invested in mobile homes?
I haven't, and it's funny you're saying that because on our way right now to our current flip house that we're doing with the group, it's a municipality called Waynfleet, and on the way there's actually a few parks there, and I was starting to look at it, and maybe
Yeah.
I'll pull in, and just haven't had a chance. But I actually do have a question for you. I was wondering how you started in that specific niche and why it was kind of appealing to you right off the bat.
Well, not appealing, but I like most people start. Well, it has a whole stigma, but I love what I
Sure.
do. Definitely, to me, it was more so like a funds. I didn't understand the role of networking. I didn't understand the role of doing it with others. I had that very set minded of I got it myself. I'll do it my own kind of thing, which is a
Right.
terrible thing.
Yep.
But it was more so like a funds. I kind of stumbled upon and just kind of carried on from there.
Okay.
So
Okay. And then, so how did you kind of transition into being an expert in that area? Because I know that you're doing multiple deals and I know that you've gotten everything, from the park organization, everything figured out to a T. So do you have a renovation team that works with you on those specific projects?
So we do have a team, and it's myself more so is just the coaching side, and it's more the more I did it, the more I liked it. Somewhere in there, I still kept thinking real estate, and at one point just thought, why? There's nothing wrong with it, but if it works out here, why not stick with it? And I had a mentor at the time, who said, because I kept on trying to venture, kind of do what you do. I don't know that I would have succeeded at 20 businesses, but he said, stop, focus on one and just explore every avenue within that niche. So that kind of opened eyes to me. Well, yeah, there's so many things I can do with mobile homes. Let me just focus on it. And from there, I kind of just put everything else aside. And so
Okay,
just the more I did it, the more people asked me, people suggested you should be teaching this kind of stuff to people. So it kind
absolutely.
of just ventured into that and kept growing. So, now that's basically what I'll do is mobile home manufacturers.
And it's funny because I never really even thought of that as like a, a business before in the sense of making wealth from something like that. So that was my eye opener because you did a webinar on it as well, correct?
Yes, on
Yes.
JT's event last year.
Yeah. I remember that. So it was eye opening, that's for sure. And the turnaround time is generally very fast. So there's definitely a lot to learn in that industry for me personally.
I tell people mobile homes are ATM boxes. They just keep
Yeah.
pouring in money. So, so
It's a good problem to have for sure.
there you go. So, do you believe in saying yes and figuring it out later?
I absolutely do. It's funny that you're saying that because one of the guys that works with us in our renovation business, he's become Steve's kind of right hand man. He's in the health industry, and we just kind of started chatting on our drive out to the flip house. And honestly, I've been trying to coach him to create products, create products, create products, because right now all he's doing is selling his time for money. So there's a few different things in the work there, but I absolutely do believe that. I believe so wholeheartedly in starting before you're ready. With
Mhm.
the health coaching business specifically, I didn't start monetizing that brand until after the pandemic hit, like I had mentioned. But when I started, I was like, oh, what are people going to think? And what am I selling here? And how is it going to pan out in a couple months? And how am I going to start to monetize this? And sure enough, within 3 to 4 months after doing, a couple free challenges, people wanted what I was offering. So absolutely starting before you're ready. It's not like I had a specific program written out that I was going to take, my clients through. I just started promoting the fact that I was doing a free challenge that you could lose weight, core shred, quarantine core challenge is what I called it. And from there, it just kind of blew up into a business, which is, X amount of months later, about 12 months later, which was crazy.
Absolutely. What do you say to somebody trying to get started into business? We have so many that want it, kind of they're on the sideline, they're hoping, wishing, but nobody's taking action. What do you say to somebody ready or get them in there?
Absolutely. I feel honestly so strongly about this, Jose. If there is a burning desire inside of you to start something that you are overly passionate about it, and again, I know JT always coaches on don't love your business, and a lot of other entrepreneurs will say the same thing. But at the same token, something's got to be burning inside of you to want a better life. Going to work for me to a 9 to 5 was never, ever appealing. Even at a young age, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So if you've got that flair to you, the best advice that I could give to you is just go for it. I mean, worst case scenario, yes, you might fail, which is probably inevitable, but that means that you can just pivot back around and start something else, change up your approach, change up the people that you're around, learn from the best people, which is absolutely what I did, but way late to the game. Always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but hire a coach. Like, seriously, hire a coach because it is a fast track to get you to where you want to go. And make sure that you're doing your research when you're hiring a coach too. You want to make sure they're real, that they've actually had life experiences. We were talking about this yesterday too. There's people that go and get a master's degree and then they don't have a business, or they're being taught how to own a business by someone like a professor, and that professor doesn't even own a business. So real life experience is absolutely irreplaceable, and don't be afraid to go for it, because I can assure you that when you achieve things that you only could dream of, the feeling is addicting, and you're just going to want to keep going and going and going and never give up. Never ever give up, because if you give up, you're like every single other person that's ever tried anything in their life, whether it's weight loss, eating healthy, starting a business, not starting a business. Just keep going. There's no other option.
Every successful individual is once a contender that refused to give up. Very good. And
Love it.
the name for our podcast here is going to be "Learn from the Best."
Oh, that's
Good
amazing.
on that. A couple more questions for you. How would you define success?
How would I define success? Success to me is has to be happiness. If you are successful and you're a miserable person or you are stressed out all the time, that does not define success for me. Success also, yes, of course, it's relative to how much wealth you're building, but again, that passion side of things has to really be there. I'm passionate about always finding new deals. I am passionate about helping people lose weight and changing their life. And success to me comes back in so many different ways. Yes, the bank account, but that's kind of like secondary to how I'm making people feel. If they lose weight and they have specifically said to me, "You have changed my life," that is a type of success that hits the heartstrings that I can't ever, monetize that feeling. So success absolutely has to be happiness and fulfillment inside of your life, but it also is relative to wanting the life that you want. I don't want to live in Canada because it's freezing, but I would like to live closer to a beach. I would like to live in a sunnier weather, sunnier climate. But at the same token, I am very grateful for the success that I do have thus far in my life. And I feel like success always has to be not necessarily more, but it has to change. As we age and as we grow, if your goals for success don't do that, you might be left in the bushes. So I just think that success is everything that you want to make it, including happiness, 100%.
Very well. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay. Last question for you. I know you mentioned growing businesses. I can't wait to see what all else you venture into. But what would you say is one of your biggest goals for 2021?
Personally, I would like to own a home. Specifically, I've been renting for quite a while now, ever since I left my six-figure job. Just as a side note, we put our all of our eggs in our basket. Even then, we went all in. So talk about taking risk. We actually were planning on moving to Mexico to start another renovation business that my Canadian corporation was going to own. So we sold our house and literally everything in it. So we took the risk. It did not pan out clearly. So ever since then, I like for sure I would love to own my own home. But in addition to that, my personal goal for real estate would be to flip another at least six properties this year. That is my goal. Last year we weren't flipping; we were just doing our renovation business until we partnered, of course, with JT and family. So that is my number one goal: is to flip at least six houses and make 50K per property is my
Nice.
specific goal. And then it's in addition to that, it's to grow the roofing division of my renovation business. So once again, with the coaching, we've been really instructed to start focusing in and more on the roofing because it just allows us to kind of get in and out. When you're in the renovation business, like my husband and I are, it's very time consuming. And then even when you're doing an estimate or a quote, of course, it can suck up so many hours of your time. So you just want to start not selling your time for money and moving forward and selling products instead of time.
There's a lot of people that are going to want to connect with you after this. You're definitely very passionate. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here.
Thanks.
And one of my goals for 2021 is to bring you on board to the mobile home niche. So stay tuned for
Yes. Super
that.
interested. I'm going to keep my goggles on and be searching for you. Maybe you can come down to cold Canada and we'll buy some stuff here together.
We'll let it get a little warm before we do, but yes,
Okay, we'll wait for
let's
spring. No problem.
let's count on that. So, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. It's Train with Cara. I am on LinkedIn, which is Cara Whiteway. I also have two other Instagram accounts, which is GTA Property Partners and fastrenovations.ca, which is my real estate sort of hub. And then I'm also on Facebook, Cara Whiteway. You'll be able to find me on all these platforms. TikTok, it just gets exhausting after a while, all these things. But any of those platforms, I'm also on Clubhouse as well, Cara Whiteway. So I would love to connect with anybody. Any questions you have for me in any of my businesses, or if you just want to chat about motivation and accountability, I'm here 100%. And Jose, thank you very much for having me today.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have to get you to show me how to work TikTok, and I will be linking all these social medias to the video here. So for those of you tuning in, you can just click on that. Definitely reach out to Cara. She has been awesome. She is awesome, and we thank you. Thank you for coming on here.
Vice versa, Jose. Thank you so much for your time.
All righty. Bye bye.
Bye.